Hello. Alright, we're going to talk about today going from active electronics down to passive electronics on a guitar like this, which I know is not super popular with the massive metal community, but I can't stand active electronics. And I was watching a few videos I could find about this, and I said, hang on mate, it seems like all these videos are being done by a bloke from the UK, done it? And I'm an American, so I'm just gonna do it like this. Stay tuned. All right. I couldn't find any videos like this, and I don't know if anybody cares, but I care, and I don't care if anybody doesn't care. Anyway, so this is a ESP LTD EC1000 Deluxe active pickups. So it's EMG, I think it's a 61 and an 81. I'm not sure. Either way, whatever. 2 volumes and a tone, stop tailpiece, and a three-way toggle. So I don't like active pickups, but I love this guitar. Sorry to the metal community. But I'm a DiMarzio fan, and I've settled on D-Sonics for the bridge. So it's got a rail, and I use something else in the neck. I'm not gonna do the neck on this video, but I am gonna do, that is a quick connect pickup. I'll show you that later. And I'm using the EMG HZ conversion kit. So comes with 500K tone pots and volume pots and stuff. I got a different input, so I'll show you that too. But it's a plug-in system. There's no soldering except for, actually, well, you got to desolder everything that comes out of here because I don't think this is the plug-in stuff. And this one thing has a port that you can actually, it's a hardwire port that you can take a regular non-plug-in toggle and plug it into this thing. Basically looks like that. It's a B-Nog thing. So bridge, neck, output, ground, and you just, tighten the screws on it like a regular terminal instead of the plug-in. But the rest of it's all plug-in. And what I did find that was pleasantly surprising, and I'll pull this all out afterwards and you'll see it better, is this system is actually wired exactly the way DiMarzio's plug-in pickups are. So it's gonna be fun. Let me get this stuff apart and get the strings off, yada yada. All right, so strings are off, got it upside down, I got all the compartments off, so that's my cool Millennium Falcon one for the switch. So there's the wiring for the switch. Don't cut any of this unless you have a new switch. Obviously, that's probably kind of obvious, but anyway, there's the battery compartment. I already took the battery out. Not gonna need that anymore anyway. I guess you can put your weed in there. And then the control cavity. So everything's in here, nice and neatly. So you can see my switch has gray, green, and red. And each one of these has a white wire and a little ground sheath that comes out of it. So the grounds are all tied together right here. Actually I should probably use so the grounds are all tied together right there, and then each one of these white wires, 1, 2, 3, comes from each one of these. That's the actual hot lead. So you got to find that again in the cavity down here. So you can see the green, gray, and the white. The red coming out here. And then you can see there's the green with the ground. There's the red with the ground in there. Anyway, so when I take it all apart, I'll find that. But the battery lead comes out of that side. And then this is your input lead. So that's right there. And I think, so for active, it's a stereo jack. So I think this blue one has 2 wires in it. And then this, because it goes like tip-ring sleeve for the ground, and then there's 1 ground. So anyway, once I untie this and figure out what's what, but one thing I want to say about this guitar, and I'll flip it over and show you more specifically so you know I'm not lying, is that wire right there. So this is the battery wire. And this wire right here is a ground wire. coming from the bridge. So I've read everywhere and talked to everybody, and everybody's like said, no, EMG active pickups aren't grounded. The bridge isn't grounded. You're not supposed to do that. I even heard somebody say you could get shocked that way. That doesn't make any sense to me because it's 9 volts. But point is, this system, even by, if you look at ESP's detail and you talk to ESP, they say, we don't ground the bridge, but they did. And this thing sounds fine. I mean, these work in the way they're supposed to, so you can do it. I don't know why it's such a polarizing thing. However, this bridge is grounded, which is awesome because I'm turning this into passive, so I don't now have to go in there and put in a bridge ground. It's in there. I've checked it. So I'm going to take these, undo this, and start figuring out what's what and desoldering things or whatever, but I'm going to show you that ground thing real quick before I move forward. All right, so here's my multimeter. There it is, tacked to the bridge. And then I'm going to go to the switch first, right there. Ground, see? No ground. Ground. I'll go to the volume knobs. Grounded. And the output. Get in there. That. Connected, grounded. So this EMG stock ESP that I've not touched anything on has a bridge ground. But again, less work for me for what I'm doing. So that's cool. All right, so I'm gonna start getting stuff desoldered and get these pickups out. And then actually we'll talk about this now too. So here's the EMG kit, right? And that's the diagram I'm gonna follow for 2 volumes, 1 tone, 2 pickups, but I'm only gonna do 1 right now. And the input, and then the little, this little thing, the terminal block that they have. So these are all connector wires. That is for your bridge ground to tie it into this thing. So you can just plug it in, it's pretty slick. These are all plug in on the bottom, and you have specific ways by that diagram to plug them in and everything. That is your input wire to go to the new input that I got. I got it to match the kind of like black nickel finish on the stuff that's already on the guitar. And then this is a little crimper to tie your bridge ground in from the the empty wire you're gonna have when you take all the rest of the stuff out. Now, these are the pickup plugs. So short ones for the bridge, long ones for the neck. But if you look at the color sequence, it goes green, white, drain, red, black, right? On the window side. So that's the closed side, right? And then in here on the other end, what happens is this little like shrink wrap thing here is the black and white tied together. Just like you would do for like, if you were to take these and put them on a push pull or something, it would split the coils. But anyways, so they have it in series right now. So it's the same wiring that they have in the DiMarzio thing. So basically your red comes out by itself, your green and bare are together, and then your black and white are tied together inside here. So it's already made, this is actually a pretty slick system, because you can just plug and play with a DiMarzio. And a couple others, you gotta, find the little color codes that give you the translations and stuff like that. But it just so happens that the pickup I want to put in works perfectly with this system without moving any wires around. And even if you had to, you can just basically, so I can focus on that. There we go. You can get in there and poke those little metal crimps in and pull these pins right out of here. And then you can just move them to where you want them. I did it with the DiMarzio plug, which looks exactly like these, except all the, these are fitted here, and then on this end they're also fitted. The DiMarzios are just open wires on the other end, on this end here. And I ended up just switching the places to make it work with an Ibanez that was already quick connect. So I just moved it to their wiring scheme. Anyway, all right, so I'm gonna get all this stuff out and we'll take a look at what I gotta do after that. So update, I took this apart and these are plugins. I didn't think it was gonna be because the rest of it's soldered, and every time I see, well, I guess I don't see them a lot, but anyway, so plugins. So that's actually gonna make it a little bit easier to get this, you know, the plugs out and stuff. So anyway, moving on. Okay, everything is out. So you can see nice clean cavity. That's just the 3 wires coming from the toggle going through in there. You don't see the bridge ground because it's actually in the hole with one of those posts for the mount, and then it actually just, when you screw the thing in, it actually mashes against the threads of the post, so that's how they ground it. People probably already know that, I don't know. Anyway, everything's out. Oh, and the pickups were an EMG 81 and a 60, so both plugins. I'm gonna leave the neck one in as a dummy right now because I haven't ordered the neck pickup that I'm getting. But anyway, so let me show you the rest of this. Good time to clean it all, by the way. But anyway, all right, so I labeled this. Red is is the neck control, bridge is green. And then these are those 3 wires coming down into the cavity, so I tied them off and just taped them off and said, you know, bridge, neck, output, and they all have a ground in them. You can see the little sheath wire coming out of that one. This one I cut a little short, but I'm gonna strip it again anyway. And that one's also got the same stuff, but it's, like I said, I haven't stripped that one yet. The rest of this crap is the battery wire and the ground that goes straight to the output. And this one with a couple wires in it. So I'm gonna take that out next and get rid of the battery thing, and then I should be good to proceed. Also, good idea to keep this tape handy when you're doing stuff like this too, because you can put it on like around the pickups and around the bridge and things like that, where you don't want anything to scrape the finish on the guitar, because this stuff comes off nice and clean and real easy. It's a good protector. Anyway, all right, moving on. All right, and the output is out now. You can see it's a stereo jack for the, you know, for active pickups. So, because of the way they got a ground for the battery and the power and all that stuff. So I'm switching that obviously to a mono jack for passive. And I picked one up, like I said, that's not from this kit. And these are crimped to snap on to the one that comes in the kit, and the one that comes in the kit has straight blades here for, you know, for that specifically, with their kit to make it fit. But these, they actually fit over this. It's just a different shaped lug, but those things will work the same. And I may dab a little solder on there just to keep them tight, because I don't know. Mechanical connections are okay, but it never hurts to be safe. All right, so the new jack is in. With the plugs on it, like it goes when you slide them on, it was they fan out a little wider than the old one did, in through the tunnel in the wood there, you know, like the actual passageway to get this section through. So I just made sure by checking the continuity between the white, which is the hot, and the ground. Well, I guess I don't have enough hands to do this, but take my word for it. Basically, you check those two little continuity guys there, the 2 little contacts that are inside the plug, and make sure that there's no continuity between them. They have to be completely separate. One's hot, one's ground. So I checked basically the white one to the tip. I put the probe up inside there to the tip, and it was good. And I checked the black one to the sleeve, and there was continuity from the black thing to the sleeve and the white one to the tip, but nothing between the 2 of them. And that's what you want to make sure, because as you stick these things down inside there and they start to squeeze the contacts together, because the hole in the wood's not that big, they can actually the connection can make contact with a different component on the output jack. So like your tang for the sleeve can actually touch the tip prong that's in there. And plus the other one that I got, I don't know if it looked weird when you're looking at it. It actually has double contact for the tip and double contact for the sleeve. It's supposed to be a stronger jack, so when you plug into it, if you like, you step on the cable and you turn, it's not going to rip it out of the guitar. It stays in. It's actually I don't know if it's a big deal or not, but I like the idea of it, so I got it. So anyway, so make sure you check your grounds when you put a new jack in. Even the one that comes with EMG, I would check. But that's the first thing. So jack is in, threaded the connector through, and I'm going to keep moving. So the other thing to think about is this little guy. The BNOG little, whatever they call it, terminal block. I think they just call it the board. Anyway, yeah, let's see what these cats call it at EMG. So they call it the pickup bus. Okay, so anyway, as you can see there, it is what's that, 18 millimeters, 0.7 inches, 1 inch wide, like 1 inch long, 0.7 inches wide, and about I don't know what that said, like I'm not doing math in my head for you people. All right, so 0.725 inches tall, whatever. You got to find a place for it in the cavity that it can sit, and it actually comes with some snap lock on it. It's not Velcro. It's like the high quality, like good snap lock stuff that you get from like the DOT for your Easy Pass or whatever kind of toll pass you have. Anyway, so inside this cavity, obviously there's going to be 3 pots there and just a bunch of wires, but the biggest piece of real estate that I can find with a flat section that actually fits this thing, and it'd be like, is there. So like, it's like, yeah, you can see the ground wire for the bridge is coming out sort of like right in front of it. If I push it, there's like a little bit of a, see that, like a knuckle there on the wood where the screw hole goes in. So like, and then there's wires coming out of this whole little wall. So right here is kind of the happy slappy medium, whatever. Maybe even like that. I don't know. You probably want to get it in a way that you can still get to these terminals if you want to take stuff out later or not, whatever. So real quick on the terminal thing, right? So this green block with the screws is for actual wire ends from the toggle switch. So like these wire ends from the switch right here, they all come in here, and then you terminate them in this block. So that's what I like about the system too, is that it doesn't force you to go and buy a new toggle switch. Even though you're going from active to passive, it doesn't matter for the switch. And these 4 prongs in the middle between, so that the red one is for any power stuff that you're going to do, which we're not using on this one. The black one is also BNOG, and that's from the let me get in there. That's the bridge, the neck, and the output. That'll go to the volumes and the output, that output there. But anyway, the middle 4 prongs are the same as this block here. They are bridge, neck, output, ground from a toggle switch that is made for this. So you can do it with this, but you also can do it with the same toggle switch you have, that's why I really like it. In addition to not having to solder a bunch of things. So anyway, all right, I'm going to get to, but anyway, yeah, so I'm not going to put it in yet until everything's wired, but that's where I'm going to probably put it because it'll probably fit the best there. Because keep in mind, you're going to plugs coming out of here and everything, so it's got to have a little, it's got to be down in there enough that when you put the cover back on, it's not going to crank down on anything and bend any contacts or anything like that. But so like sometimes they have them like, they show them like that on a sidewall. And I don't know. It's not going to have good contact there because of the knuckle. There's no flat spots where it's not going to interfere with a pot, Like maybe, no. Those are all, they all end up, well, maybe that one. I don't know. we'll see. But again, I'm not going to put the sticky thing. It's a little, you know, you peel off the adhesive and stick it on, and then snap this block onto it. I'm not going to do that until everything's wired, so I can see, one, where this thing sits, whether it's going to be over here, whether it needs to be sideways, up, you know, vertical, whatever you want to call it, for the wires that are coming out of it and off the top. You know, maybe this will be better. Maybe I'll even have it. You can even have it like that so you can read the block. But anyway, just as long as you have like a flat surface for it to get full contact from the adhesive, it's not interfering with any pots or anything like that. So like this, it's possible that might not interfere. That definitely won't, but then you're going to have wires coming up out of the top, so it's got to be deep enough for it. So anyway, I'll mess with that after it's wired and everything's plugged in. But the great thing about this is you can completely unplug everything and redo it and do a bunch of different configurations and feeds and stuff like that to find that spot. So pretty slick. I mean, it may be even that, like, when this is done, I can let this float in here and I'll actually put it like that, and it'll be on the backside of this thing, so that when you pull the cover off, it'll be there, but you can still, it's got the snap lock so you can pop it off, but then it won't be, you know, stuck inside. I don't know. Again, the key being, don't stick this on before you do all your wiring. That way you can figure out the best spot for it once you got everything sticking out of it like it's going to be. Okay, next step I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pots in. Yeah, I'm going to plug in everything to the pots by their diagram. And again, they have a really good diagram here. So this is the one I'm going to use for 2 volumes, 1 tone, 1 toggle switch going into the 1 toggle switch going into the green block. And this is an older drawing. That black section of the block is just the 2 sections. See the 2 grounds? That's just the plastic that they used has changed. It's not 2 pieces anymore. See, it used to be 2 pieces, 1 black section for the grounds and a green section for the actual pickup stuff, for the leads, or the leads from the toggle. Now it's just 1 piece, 1 terminal, and they color the grounds, the letters black. So whatever, pretty cool. All right, so using this diagram, start at the bridge volume, put the bridge ground in, plug it in, it's a single pin. And you take the bridge pickup, put it in here, and it shows you, like, they have little arrows marked on these little terminals. And you can see which wire goes on which side. But if you put the arrows up, so that you can see them and they're not against the pot, basically that works too for the way they're trying to tell you to do it. So pickup plug goes in the middle 2, ground goes on one of the bottom 2, doesn't matter because those are both bottoms, go to the ground lug, and then a connector, which is just these little wires. It comes with like 4 of these, I think. So I have, in this connection scheme, I have 1 too many, so I'm not going to use all of them. But anyway, so then you go black and white to the B-nog from the bridge volume. So there's one that says bridge. It shows you which way black and white goes. Pretty slick, you know, the way they got it all laid out. Next one is same thing. Pickup goes in the middle. Nothing on the bottom 2 for the neck volume. And then a connector comes out and goes to the neck. And then on the bottom 2, so the tone actually only has 4 prongs on it, 4 pins. So you do the output, black and white at the bottom, and then the tone to the output lug on the little connector. So on the what are they calling that? Whatever, the bus. So just 2 from this to that. So that looks like this. We have, that's the bridge pickup, which is the short one. So this is the bridge volume, the 500K pot, and it's basically, get a little zoom in here, so same thing. Pickup in the middle, connector on the top, which, well, I guess if you orient it like the drawing, pickup's in the middle, bridge ground is on the bottom, connector's on the top, the connector goes into the bridge end. Then we go to the neck volume. I didn't hook up the neck pickup yet, but that's right there. So neck pickup goes in the middle, nothing on the bottom too, and then the connector goes on the top, and that connects to the neck in. And then your last one is your master tone. So master tone, see 4 pins. At the bottom goes to the output, and the top goes back into the connecting bus, and the output black and white. And you can see the little, you can't see them in there because they're in plugs, but if you take a look, let me see if I can get the angle right. See the two little arrows by the connectors where it says EMG. So that's how you know you're going the right way. So now you got to just get these all in the holes, and they come with, you know, like the typical lugs and trim washer, and then lock washers and stuff like that. I'm trying to match the amount of the ones that I took out because these are the same exact size pots as what I took out. And so like my neck volume had 2, talking about the lock washers, my neck volume had 2 stashed. I'm sorry, my bridge volume had 2, the neck volume had 3, and my tone had 2. So I'm gonna try and keep them all the same. And then again, like you see, nothing plugged into the red because that's for all power stuff. This is the same bus they use for some of their active systems. So nothing on the 4 prongs because my wires for my toggle are there. So I got to trim those down and get the grounds connected and all that stuff, because I'm going to have to, I'm going to have 3 of those grounds wound together and put into one of these terminals. And then the other 3 wires, which are basically the white wires coming out of the colored sheath, into this terminal here. And then I'll plug that in because, well, I might not plug that in because I don't have the neck pickup yet. But anyway, okay. So that's the next step. I'm gonna get these wires cleaned up, get them plugged into the bus, and start situating everything inside here. Okay, so clean these wires up, twisted all the grounds together, put them in the ground terminal, tighten the screw, and then the same thing. They're all white now, obviously, so you gotta make sure you remember which one's coming out of which sheath. So output is gray for mine, neck is red, and green is bridge. So the other thing is you're gonna need a tiny ass screwdriver to do this. I happen to have like a precision one for like fixing glasses and stuff like that. It was teeny, so that fit these things perfectly. So anyway, just something to keep in mind, but those are connected now. So everything's connected. I just got to get the pots into the holes, tighten them up, make sure everything's facing the right way and all that stuff, and then give it a couple of tests, and we'll see how this works. Well, actually, I take it back. I'm going to put all this stuff together, get it all neatened up and everything. I'm going to leave the cover off and then turn it over, and then it's pickup time. All right. So what I have done is put all the pots in, and then what I ended up actually doing, and then you can see the neck pickup wire I ran here, and I just haven't plugged it in yet because I don't have a pickup in there. So I'm just going to leave that off for now because this system will still work without this plugged in. And it doesn't matter which end. If I plug this in here, it doesn't matter that it's not plugged in the pickup cavity either. So I guess I could route it and plug it in and just leave it. So maybe I will. But anyway, so bridge volume, neck volume, master tone, straight through to the output, and the 3 wires that come in, I kind of ran them around this pot, circled in, and they're in that block that we saw before. That's the switch, toggle switch, and then the rest of these connector cables are plugged into the block the way they're supposed to be. Bridge, neck, and output. There's the and I stuck it in, so I actually ended up unplugging these 3 guys to maneuver this thing around and get the wires all where I wanted them and stuff. And then it was simple as plugging them back in from where they are because I have it nice and set. And it's all below the cavity wall, so nothing's gonna be touching metal or anything, and it won't be touching the shielding on the plate that goes back on here. So okay, I'm gonna plug this in, and these are pretty, like, let's see if I can do it with one hand, but they're actually pretty easy to plug in. So let's get it under those wires, plug it in there, and then just give it a little All right, so there we go. So the bridge, so the neck pickup is now also plugged in. Bridge pickup's plugged in, yada yada. So there we go. So that's the way the diagram has it and everything. So now, before I close all this crap up, I gotta go to the bridge and do the pickup, plug that in, and then give it a little test. Okay, so let's go to this. This is the DiMarzio wiring pattern, right, for their quick connect pickups, which is what this is. So black, red, drain, white, green, black, red, drain, white, green, and there's the cable that comes with it. Actually, we'll go over to the other diagram now. Don't get dizzy. I'll probably edit the walkout. All right, so here's theirs and the DiMarzio connector. See, it's got the free end, and then it has black, red, drain, white, green. Same as the connectors for this kit, so that's awesome. And then pickup is a D-Sonic, so I'm gonna put this, I usually, when I put these on 6 strings, I put this away from the bridge, like towards the neck, and the pole pieces towards the bridge. It makes it sound bassier. But this is basically, there you go, pins 1 through 5, and you can see where they come in, right? And you can't see the wires because it's taped up and everything, right? But it's like something like north start, I don't know. But this is the green wire, the red wire, the black wire, and the white wire, right? So black and white tie together in the middle, and there's your drain wire, and then green and red are your hot and whatever, hot and end. Anyway, so I'm gonna mount this inside the EMG pickup ring and then get it in there, because this is what's sticking out. I'll plug it in and give it a test. All right, so with this style of pickup ring, or this style guitar, there's a slightly shorter side and a taller side because it fits the angle of the curved top, well, of the body, and it is a curved top. But anyway, short side goes away from the bridge, tall side goes towards the bridge. So I want my rail away from the bridge, so I put it in like this. All right, so I'm gonna get that screwed down. All right, so pickups in the pickup ring, I'll level it off and see how high it needs to be for string height and everything later. But basically the rail away from the bridge, and then to plug it in, you're gonna kind of have to, DiMarzio wants the windows against the pickup so that the green is here, I think. No, black. Yeah, black's gonna be at the top pin, because then it goes, basically lay this down here. Okay, it's like that. So from top to bottom on the pins, it goes black, red, drain, white, green. And that will be how it plugs in. Then you just kind of bend it down and sit the thing in. So here we go. So there it is plugged in. Let me zoom in better. Black, red, drain, white, green. So you can see black is the first pin on the top left. There's your black pin. And then that's the red pin at this corner. And then you got white down here and green there. And the drain is just the middle pin, which is the, you know, the sheath winding for everything. So anyway, all right, now I'm gonna flip it over and put it in. Okay, let's see. All right, so I got my little spark plugged in there, and we are in the neck position. Volume up, tone up. So there should be nothing, this is dead. Nothing coming out of here. You'll get a little sound. Well, maybe not. I don't have any gain on that channel, so nothing from here. Then when I go to middle, which would be both pickups normally, it's, you get something there, and here's with the tone down. So that works. The neck pickup, the neck volume, I think, until the pickup's hooked up, is not going to affect this. Yeah. In that middle position. And it may not at all. I don't know. The way it was wired before, if you turn down either of these volumes in either position, like in the middle position, either volume would shut off everything. So I don't know if that was how it was intended or what. But anyway, right now this neck volume doesn't do anything because I still got my thing. And then here's the bridge. Full bridge, obviously, that's not hooked up. But so neck is just an off position for this guitar right now because I don't have the neck pickup in there. But anyway, it works. So I'm going to button it all up. A couple other things, though, about what let me unplug that first. Hold on. Okay. So didn't have to do anything in there, just identify stuff. In here, one thing I did do, though, and I don't know if you can see it now because the way I have stuff routed, but I just, instead of crimping the bridge wire, the bridge ground wire with this little, they give you like a little button thingy that you can, you put one end in each hole there, and then you just squeeze this button and it locks them together. It's such a long wire, I just cut it down a little bit, and it's still unpluggable from here, right? So I soldered that wire together to get this terminal. To be honest, if I had a crimper and one of these pins, I probably would have just crimped this terminal onto the existing wire because it was plenty long enough. But anyway, so I ran the ground wire out from the wall where it comes around here and into the bridge volume. The bridge pickup wire comes in and goes like that. That's plugged in, and then it wires to the bus. That's the neck pickup plugged in. Like I said, I'm going to leave it plugged in because it doesn't matter. And then the wire that comes out and goes to the bus for the neck volume. And then there's a wire that comes out and goes to the bus right here. That's this one from the tone knob, and then it goes around out to the output, and that's it. Don't need the battery section anymore. And it's all, like I said, it all fits nice and neatly under the top surface of the indent for the plate. So I'll put it all back together, get the strings on, and see what she sounds like. I think she sounds good.